What's up, guys? Anthony Rodriguez here, and the question today is how do I manage productions? Productions come in all different sizes, but I want to use the example of the big size ones, the ones that I have to kind of write and then ultimately mix. So, really easy. I could manage different productions each week and not go crazy. So, what I do is I do things by phases, by stages. So, I can be writing music. I'm focusing on that music. It's just all music, going back and forth with whoever's on the other side. And once it gets approved, then I'll go ahead and I'll do some MIDI cleanup because these things will be converted into audio. And so the MIDI cleanup is a different session. So once I write music and it gets approved, I'll close out that session and I'll move into something else. Or if not, I'll come back another day and I'll focus on that particular production. I'm doing MIDI cleanup. I'm going through every track to see if there are any short notes that got cut short or anything that's lagging that you don't really hear when everything's together. And I'll edit those MIDI notes or change a note that I don't like. But that is also something that you can't do. When something gets approved, you cannot change like notes and stuff like that because it's going to be noticeable. So it's mainly just cleaning up the MIDI notes. That's one session. So we got making the music that can take up 2 or 3 days. And then once that gets approved, then we go into the MIDI cleanup within the writing session. That's another session. Come back for exporting session. So now I can focus on preparing the MIDI tracks, converting them into audio to be exported as audio. And so making sure that the names of each file, each instrument is right. So sometimes we can go and just, when we're writing music, we're just like labeling stuff quickly. So whatever are shorts, whatever are longs, whatever's effects, want to make sure that, you kind of label them right, for the next phase. So I have one session that I'm labeling the tracks, checking them out, and then they're being exported into a folder. And then Pro Tools comes in. That's a different session. Pro Tools comes in. I have a mix template already that I can modify, so I don't have to worry about opening up audio tracks or anything like that. My template is there. I dump those audio tracks. I either import them or I just drag them in, depending. And then I'll start to label the audio tracks within Pro Tools, because since I didn't import them, I just dragged them into audio tracks. I have to label the audio tracks. And once I have them in my multi-tracks folder, I'll label them. Then I'll start setting the instruments by food groups into their aux groups. And once I do that, then I have my VCA section, and then I'll just set up the VCA groups as well. So multi-tracks into the groups, into the VCAs, all of that stuff. And then labeling the sends, because since it's a template, I gotta label the sends. Sometimes I won't have the same group of instruments. I had to label the sends and the buses and all that stuff gotta get relabeled for that particular production. That's one session. I'm done. With all that information, it does take a while to do all of that. When I come back for the next session for this production, I am going to start balancing things out again. I'm going to be hearing things. I'm going to hear how it sounds in my Pro Tools, and now I'm in the mixing stage, balancing, and then I'll go into taking a break. I'll take a lot of breaks, and then I'll go into hearing things at 85 SPL, 75 SPL, how it sounds loud, how it sounds low. I'll start to do all of that. A being against my reference as well, and so forth. Once those things are done, I'll then, what do I do? Yes, send out for the mixing approval. Once those mixes get approved, then I'll develop stems. Now the mastering is already being mastered. I mix into my mastering chain. So I'm going against my A and B, which is already master. So I'm going up against something that's already final and commercial, and that's my target. Once that gets approved, then I start to build my stems and I start printing the stems. I print in two different ways. I print with the mixed bus processing, and I also print without the mixed bus processing. So there's two different prints that I have available, and then those things get put into a folder for delivery. In some cases, I have to do alternate mixes where I need to do a light mix, the full mix obviously, and in some cases 30 seconds, 60-second mixes for different situations for TV and film. Also instrumental versions for a modern production for an artist, and so these things are there. And this does not even include Dolby Atmos. So Dolby Atmos is after the fact, after the stereo mix is done. I do mix Atmos in a different Pro Tools session. I do not mix it in the same stereo session. So that is an add-on that's been there for the last few years. So the last few years the process has been longer. And this is something that I do when I'm working on multiple productions. I could be working on this other production that I'm just focusing on perhaps mixing, and then this other production that I'm actually writing music for. So I could be in first phase in one production, I could be the fifth phase on a different production, and I'm just rotating as I go. And that's how I get things done. Things with a tighter deadline require for me to just focus on that one production, which requires it requires more. So that's what that is. I hope that I answered that question. Stay tuned for the next one.